Hey Nick, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, and you.
Good.
Perfect. So we got two questions today. I'll give you yours first. And basically, it's a continuation of a couple of the questions that we've already done in the weeks prior. But people are very interested in sort of the questions and want to extrapolate more. So we've been talking about relationships between business partners in CCs, and specifically what our writers have asked for today is you to just deal a little bit with when you are starting a venture with another person in the form of a company or maybe a joint venture or something like that. When is it an opportune time to start getting your attorney involved in that process to best help along with whatever venture you're doing?
So, do you get your house in order or do you negotiate the deal? And that type of question often comes up in a lot of these commercial transactions because people don't know which one should come first. In order to negotiate the deal, you have to have your house in order. But to have your house in order, you need to know what deal you're getting into. Now, there's a lot of examples over when things like this happen. So in mergers, as an example, happens all the time where two companies are getting together and they want to negotiate so they understand what exactly either the target company or the acquiring company needs to have in place in order to make the deal work. But in property transactions, very, very similar scenario. When you're negotiating with a seller, for example, on acquiring a certain property, be it commercial, residential, whatever the case is, maybe ongoing development, when you're doing that negotiation, you need to have an understanding from the seller what sort of business partners you need to bring into the mix if you feel that you're unable to do this deal yourself. But on the flip side of things, you also want to be able to have the conversations with business partners before spending time and energy negotiating the deal so that you know what exactly to ask for, you know what terms to capitulate to or to agree to, and you know exactly what these business partners are going to put into place and what these consequences are for you. Now, obviously, these impact each other because what is the point of going through the effort of negotiating a deal only to find at the end of the day that your piece of the pie, because of the way that your business partners have negotiated, is very small and negotiating the deal was simply not feasible. And now you've given away that IP in a sense, because it's a lot of work that you've done. And now you've already introduced the idea. So now you're on the back foot in the negotiation because what do you do? Especially if these business partners don't see what value you've brought to the table. My argument or my advice in situations like this is you take a dual approach. Now, I understand that people don't want to spend money on an attorney, and the question often arises, but when do I first go meet the attorney? I've got clients of mine that come to me from day one. As soon as they simply see the deal, they already approach me so that we can start having conversations around how to approach the seller. And you know what? Those deals always work out. And when I say work out, some of them don't go through, but it works out in favor of my client because the deal should have never gone through. Because I find things right at the beginning of the deal that I'm either able to identify as a problem or I'm able to find solutions for so that when you approach the negotiation, you approach it solution driven. So I always say approach an attorney, approach an expert in this type of deal closing scenario from day one if you can. But obviously, that's an ideal world. And attorneys cost money, and sometimes people don't want to put money into a deal that may not even happen. So when do you approach an attorney? It's that little sweet spot when you've identified the deal and you've had the first conversation with the person, either the seller or the person that you're acquiring the business from. And you've had that first conversation with the potential business partners. At this juncture would be the time to actually approach the attorney. But the fear here is that the attorney is going to take some time to put together all these documents and these contracts and MOIs, and it's going to take so long that you might lose the deal in the process. So what a lot of people do is they go ahead, they sign the paperwork in the hope that they can get the back end sorted out later and make the deal work. And this is wrong. So what we suggest or what we do is we work again on an interim basis. We start stress testing the idea. We put terms together. This is called commercial sheet, where commercial terms are put together. We even get the parties to bind themselves to these material commercial terms, because at the end of the day, no one cares how many shareholders it takes to form a quorum in a meeting, like most of these formal corporate docs require. But we want to know how much money goes into the deal. When is the money going to be repaid? Is there interest payable? You want to go through the commercials. You want to get these agreed to, because the detail comes late and the detail will not tank the deal. So my suggestion is approach the attorney as soon as you can. Get a commercial sheet in place, get the parties to bind themselves, make sure it's comprehensive. It has absolutely everything that parties could have issue over. And we've already discussed this in previous videos where we spoke about certain downsides and certain pitfalls to look out for, but make sure these are all addressed. And once they are, get the parties to bind to them and at the same time negotiate and close the deal. That is the best advice I can give if time is an issue. Normally, yes, draft everything ahead, make sure everything's in order, get your house in order. Again, ideal world. This is a hack. This is a way for you to get the best of both worlds without wasting time. So I hope that helps. And if you do need anything, feel free to reach out.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Bruno.